Tim Walz continues to be criticized for embellishing his rank and service. After it came out over the weekend, he once claimed to be an official bikini inspector. Walz's direct superior in the National Guard says Walz knew his unit was about to deploy to Iraq and went behind the back of his superior officer to resign.
Out that this guy doesn't have the limp he pretended to have, doesn't have like a bent hand that he pretended to have, that he's perfectly fine. He struts off into the sunset, and we learn he was the bad guy all along. And I have to tell you, Mark, that is how I'm feeling today about Tim Walz.
What happens when you hand Tim Walz a mic and put him in the ring with two people who have zero tolerance for political theater? You get a verbal beatdown so savage, even his teleprompter wanted to walk off. Greg Gutfeld brings the sarcasm, Megyn Kelly brings the heat, and Tim Walz? Mostly confusion. If you've ever wanted to witness a governor get politically body slammed with effortless style, buckle up. This roast is hotter than Walz's approval ratings are cold.
Gets back in the ring. I speak of former VP nominee Tim Walz. He joined Beto O'Rourke at a Texas town hall last night, and the estrogen levels were enough to give Chuck Norris menstrual cramps. I wonder, is our strength our diversity?
Our strength is our diversity. We've been talking about this for years as a country of immigrants, and we let them define the issue on immigration. We let them define the issue on DNI.
But I'm thinking there's only one explanation for Tim spewing nonsense like this. Time of the month.
Tim Walz, the man, the myth, the political piñata with the resilience of a wet paper bag in a hurricane. If incompetence needed a mascot, it'd be wearing a North Face jacket, clutching a clipboard, and awkwardly bumbling through a press conference like a confused dad explaining TikTok. Minnesota didn't elect a governor, they accidentally hired a substitute gym teacher with a love for bureaucratic word salad and all the charisma of cold oatmeal.
News for Tim Walz on the disastrous performance he delivered, in particular when it comes to his self-described knuckle-headed behavior. This one was that he was in China when the Tiananmen Square disaster unfolded, when hundreds of people were killed.
I have my dates wrong. I was in Hong Kong in China in 1989. That move from Hong Kong into China, it was profound for me. That was the summer of democracy. I said it's where I understood how sacred democracy was. It's what encouraged me about 15 back and forth with my students. Taking them to China. I speak like everybody else speaks. I need to be clear, I will tell you that. I do understand China a hell of a lot better than Donald Trump. Kamala Harris understands China.
The excuse for his lies, Michael, is I speak like everybody else.
And just when you thought the bar couldn't sink any lower, Tim Walz drifts in like a fog machine of mediocrity. You know you've truly outdone yourself in failure when even Greg Gutfeld, the man who turned sarcasm into an Olympic sport, can't figure out if you're a real governor or a lost department store mannequin that somehow stumbled into public office.
Trump's getting sworn in. But I'm thinking there's only one explanation for Tim spewing nonsense like this. Time of the month. Hotep, who do you think he's talking to? Like, what is the audience for that?
I don't even know who the audience is. I was confused when I saw the clip. Who the is he talking to? He's operating on some old program, but the big issue here is he's trying to criticize Trump. That was like supposed to be a jab at Trump being an old white guy or whatever. But it just comes back to the fact that Democrats don't understand economics. Because if you look at the moves that Trump is making right now, these are great economic recovery moves.
Megyn Kelly didn't even have to break a sweat. She took one glance at Tim Walz's greatest hits and said, "Oh, this guy? Easy." It was like shooting fish in a barrel, if the fish were already floating upside down and practically asking for it.
Trying to distort the way a law is written to try and make a point, that's not it at all.
What was I wrong about, Governor? Please tell me, what was I wrong about?
That is not the way the law is written. Look, I've given
but
this...
how?
I've given this advice on a lot of things, that getting involved, getting engaged, that's been misread, and it was fact-checked at the last debate.
From 2015 to 2023, which was the date Tim Walz repealed the law requiring life-saving care, 24 babies were born alive in Minnesota after an attempted abortion. Think of how horrific that is.
Let's start with the policy masterpiece known as Tim tries to govern while blinking into the void. His version of leadership? Basically a Yelp review for failure, too slow, too loud, and you regret the experience every time. Every time he opens his mouth, it's like your brain starts buffering. If leadership were Wi-Fi, Tim Walz is that one bar you get in the basement, standing on a chair, arm in the air, praying for a signal.
This is literally the dumbest administration of all time. Why is he talking?
It really is the ultimate clown show. And I said this in the 5. He's a clown without a circus. He
doesn't even need makeup.
He's roaming the terrain. Is there some carnival that I could work for? I'll watch your windows.
He's a rogue clown.
Yes.
Who is just an inconsequential footnote to vice presidential history.
Yes.
No one will remember his name on trivia night, and that's going to be in 3 months from now.
And let's not forget the riots. Oh, the majestic chaos of Tim Walz's response to public unrest. It was a Shakespearean tragedy. If Shakespeare forgot how to write, dropped acid, and used sock puppets for characters. While cities burned, Walz delivered press conferences so vague, even a magic 8-ball was like, bro, you need to make a decision.
Doug Brunt, my husband, he doesn't react to that much in the news. And so when it gets his attention, I know that something's gone either very right or very wrong. And he did not like this clip from Tim Walz reacting to the Taylor Swift news. Watch.
Taylor Swift signed childless cat lady. I have to get your response to that, Mr. Governor.
All those things, I am incredibly grateful, first of all, to Taylor Swift. I say that also as a cat owner, a fellow cat owner. Look, Swifties, you heard it. We know that it's there. That was eloquent, and it was clear. And that's the type of courage we need in America to stand up.
And my husband said he looks like Elmer Fudd. That's what he looks like, Elmer Fudd. Like there's something off about this guy.
Megyn Kelly, who can turn smugness into a tactical nuke, took one look at Tim Walz's record and morphed into a verbal buzzsaw. She treated his career like a Pinterest craft project gone horribly wrong, grabbed a little glitter from his education plan, glued it to crumbling infrastructure, and tossed the whole mess into the dumpster fire he calls public safety. You almost feel bad for the guy, until you remember he ran twice. He looked at his own train wreck of a first term, slapped on a gold star, and said, yeah, let's do that again. That's not competence, that's delusion with a side of taxpayer-funded Kool-Aid. Under Walz's reign, Minnesota turned into a real-life escape room. You walk in, nothing makes sense, the clues are broken, and the guy in charge is standing in the corner shouting, let's trust the process. What process, Tim? The one where logic goes to die and accountability takes an unpaid sabbatical?
Gets back in the ring. I speak of former VP nominee Tim Walz. He joined Beto O'Rourke at a Texas town hall last night, and the estrogen levels were enough to give Chuck Norris menstrual cramps. I wonder, is our strength our diversity?
Our strength is our diversity. We've been talking about this for years as a country of immigrants, and we let them define the issue on immigration. We let them define the issue on D&I.
But I'm thinking there's only one explanation for Tim spewing nonsense like this. Time of the month.
The state budget. Now that's a full-blown sitcom. Tim Walz took a healthy surplus and spent it like a college freshman with a new credit card. But instead of pizza and video games, he blew it on committees, consultants, and whatever magical bean factory he thinks grows government programs. Greg Gutfeld put it best, if Walz handled your household finances, you'd be living in a van behind a burned-down Arby's, budgeting for air. The man couldn't prioritize if the options were cure cancer or buy a golden stapler for a task force on feelings. And then there's his COVID response, a chef's kiss of disaster. Picture locking people inside for months, then acting surprised when the economy faceplants like a toddler on roller skates. Walz ran the pandemic like someone who skimmed half a Wikipedia article, panicked, and banned everything, except depression and bad Wi-Fi.